others did not. The other question is, and I haven't gotten this information or seen it, do we know specifically the weapons that were used? Originally, it was reported a handgun and a long gun, a rifle, now 2 AR-15s, which had been purchased a week before on his birthday.
And that I do not have that information. You're right that he did. It looks like on that 18th birthday, he went and purchased 2 weapons. Were those the 2 used in this? I don't know. They did say that there was a Customs and Border Protection agent who was there. He is the one who actually called it in or was involved in the call, had no backup, and he went in and pushed himself into the barricaded classroom and was the one who ended up taking out the shooter.
Which I think is now policy. Whenever there's an active shooter in the school, whoever shows up, you do not wait for backup. You rush into the school. The other question is that resource officer, was that resource officer armed, and did he shoot?
I don't have any
that
idea.
Information either.
The other thing is, I don't know for sure that this Customs and Border Protection agent was actually on duty, because check this out. Apparently, this is a community that is filled with kids whose parents work for CBP. So this could have simply been a parent who found out about it and ran in. So that's also what I got to figure out.
And is no doubt armed, because Texas is an open carry state, which means that a lot of people are armed with just guns and holsters.
Well, and just as an officer, he would have
that's the other one. If he was on duty, of course he was armed, but even off duty, virtually every cop I know, even off duty, carries a weapon.
Exactly.
There's no such thing as a police officer who leaves a weapon home. They even shower with their weapons. I mean, it's just... That's just the way it works in this country. All right, let's move on, because there are a bunch of other aspects of this, and we're going to be covering a lot of this in the topics throughout the day.
All right, you were talking about now senators who have been making statements, and one of them was Connecticut Democratic Senator Chris Murphy. He was formerly a representative from a district that included Sandy Hook Elementary yesterday, and he pleaded with his colleagues to do something.
I'm here on this floor to beg, to literally get down on my hands and knees and beg my colleagues. Find a path forward here.
You can tell how emotional he was.
Oh, devastated.
I mean, the images that brought up for him, I can only imagine, but he was there with those parents and those students during Sandy Hook.
And a quick, all right, here's a quick survey. What's going to come out of this legally? I vote for nothing. Jen?
I say nothing.
All right, Wayne?
There's no reason to think this time is going to be any different than all the other times, so my best prediction would be nothing of any note. You might see a tiny thing here and an adjustment over there and a presidential order of some kind over there. Nothing substantive.
No, and that's one
of
the
Can I just say, though?
Yes, please do.
I don't know what substantively could be done that would actually improve this problem that we have.
Well, considering that, let me throw something at you before we take a break. Since now the majority of these shootings, these mass shootings, the gunman employs those assault weapons, the AR-15s or the Bushmasters, that kind of weaponry. It could be that Congress goes back to reenact the assault weapons ban that was put into place in 1994 with a 10-year sunset clause, which ended in 2004, which means, again, it's wide open to sale. But here's the problem. You're never going to be able to prove how many potential gunmen were averted by not being able to buy an AR-15. That's the problem. It becomes proving a negative. So those who are in the gun lobby or advocates of purchasing virtually every gun will always be in the right, because you can't ever prove that stopping those guns stopped anything. And so I agree with you that it'll be incremental. Will there be another assault weapons ban? No, I don't think so. All right, we'll come back and we'll keep on going with this one, obviously, in the news. Let's check in with Jennifer, live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom.
President Biden says he's sick and tired of mass shootings. He again demanded changes to gun laws during a speech after a mass shooting at an elementary school that killed 19 kids and 2 adults. He asked, "Where in God's name is our backbone?" The San Bernardino National Forest is putting in fire and shooting restrictions because of the critically dry moisture levels on the forest land. And this is a big day in the Twitter takeover. Shareholders will decide whether to accept the offer from Elon Musk, much like the board did earlier this month. From the Driveway.com Weather Center, we've got a sunny day ahead and warmer. Temperatures will be in the mid to upper 60s at the beaches. We'll make it into the mid to upper 90s inland. This report is brought to you by Indeed.com. From the Southern California Toyota Dealers Traffic Center, let's go places with Nick, and we'll check out the 10.
So dealing with a problem for you driving along the westbound side of the 10 San Bernardino Freeway, transition to the 5 southbound in the Boyle Heights area. It's a crash as the right lane of that connecting roadway shut down. Going to be a busy one for you. Immediate slowing on the westbound side of the 10 from before Soto, but overall 10 westbound will be patchy for you as you come out of, well, let's take it all the way back toward Covina and from before Azusa Avenue. 210 West is an alternate to the 10 westbound are going to be busy for you. Stretches off the 57 out of Glendora, heading into Monrovia. And the westbound side of the 60 starting to see delays through Hacienda Heights and Industry from 7th as you make your way toward the 605. KFI in the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Nick Poliokini.
Hey, if you just got your dream job and it's halfway across the country and you're thinking to yourself, this is fantastic, until your new boss tells you, I need you here in 2 weeks. All of a sudden you say, wait a minute, I got to sell a home. How do I do that quickly? You just go to opendoor.com. I make your life easier with opendoor.com. They make your life super easy. When you go to opendoor.com, you just enter your address, little information about your house within minutes. And I know this because I went through the process. They will give you a real competitive offer for your house. See, they take the information that you've given them and compare them with homes that have sold in the neighborhood and come up with a real competitive offer. And it's one that comes without any listings or showings. Plus, you're not going to have to do any prep work or make any repairs yourself. So take that new job and cross one huge big stress event off your list. Sell your home to opendoor.com. Get your free offer on your house at opendoor.com/KFI. Offer eligibility varies. Open Door is represented by Open Door Brokerage Inc., license number 020-61130 in California, and Open Door Brokerage LLC in its other markets. Sell your home the new-fashioned way, the stress-free way, at opendoor.com/KFI.
Need to hire? Need Indeed. Their hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates in one place. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
This report is sponsored by Whole Foods Market. Celebrate ice cream season at Whole Foods Market. Enjoy 2 Ben & Jerry's or Talenti ice cream and frozen treats for $7 through May 31st. Plus an extra 10% off for Prime members while supplies last. See more on the Whole Foods Market app.
Having the time of your life is more rewarding than ever when you stay at any of the 20-plus MGM resorts nationwide. Now with MGM Rewards, you can dine, stay, play, and earn on all of it. Visit MGMRewards.com for more details. Subject to earning and redemption
This
limitations.
is KFI, and I want to take you back to Fox News now with Lieutenant Olivares in Uvalde, Texas, talking about now the shooter. He just said that the shooter in yesterday's attack had at least one rifle on him. Handle this is answering one of your questions.
We want to provide accurate information.
It hasn't been even 24 hours, as you know. Did he live with his grandmother, or did he live with his parents? And if so, are his parents together? Do they live in that town, Lieutenant?
Right, so he was living with his grandparents. As far as to why he was living with his grandparents and how long he was living with them, we're still trying to make that determination. But he was residing with his grandparents, which is in close proximity to the school. And that's where that domestic disturbance originated from, there inside that residence in which he shot his own grandmother. Right now, the grandmother is in stable, critical condition right now. She is still alive. She will be a key witness to this investigation to be able to provide any information as to the background of this shooter, as to what would have set off this shooter, any indicators to cause this mass shooting.
Okay, Lieutenant, I've got a few more, but I want to bring in my colleague, Julie Banderas, that can join us now.
Lieutenant,
Julie.
Thank you so much for talking to us. So you were talking about earlier how he lived with his grandparents. My question to you is, do we know where his parents are? Do we know if his parents actually reside in this country, or if they do not, do they live in another country? Do you know where they are? Does anyone?
Right, Julie. So I have not been provided with that information. I'm continuing to receive updates as we go on, but I can tell you right now that our lead investigators will identify his parents. If they do reside here or wherever they reside, they will be in contact with them as well and try to also to identify, history as far as what caused him to actually, why he's not residing with his parents. Why is he residing with his grandparents? So a lot of unanswered questions, but again, we are working closely with law enforcement, and we will continue to provide those updates as we receive them.
Yes, sir.
From what I understand, a Border Patrol agent is the one who actually did shoot dead the armed gunman, the suspect. He actually stormed the school before backup even arrived, after the gunman had barricaded himself in a fourth grade classroom. So that man is a hero. That man or woman is a hero for possibly preventing many more lives from being stolen. But I want to talk about the community. This is a predominantly Hispanic, underprivileged community, and from what I understand, many of the students that go to this elementary school are in fact the children of Border Patrol agents. What can you tell us about that?
Right, so this is a very small border community. It's a tight-knit community. Everyone here knows each other, law enforcement, everybody that's inside this community now, they all know each other. But I want to touch base real quick on what you mentioned earlier. There was multiple law enforcement officers that responded to the scene. All of those officers are heroes. They put their lives on the line between the shooter and these children to prevent any further loss of life. There were initial officers on scene prior to the specialized tactical team that arrived that were able to kill and kill the suspect, kill the shooter. But again, those are the heroes as well, because they were on scene. They were met with gunfire initially, but they were able to evacuate other children, other teachers, by breaking windows around the school and evacuating these children and teachers from those windows to preserve any further loss of life. And that's when that specialized tactical team arrived, comprised of U.S. Border Patrol as well as local law enforcement. They made forcible entry into that classroom. They were met with gunfire as well. That Border Patrol agent received a sustained a non-life-threatening injury. He was released from the hospital yesterday. But again, all heroes here, everyone here that responded to the scene, all the volunteers, all the support that we have received right now, everyone is a hero to this day. And again, we just want to continue to provide this support and mourn the loss with these victims, the families, for this tragic incident that took place here in Uvalde, Texas.
No matter how much training you have as a police officer, as a sergeant, as a lieutenant, as a detective, as a Border Patrol agent, no amount of training could ever prepare you for walking into a scenario such as this one. My last question for you is, what is the protocol for school shootings in the state of Texas? Because as you know, school shootings and shootings in general and mass shootings are on the rise in the state of Texas. So in this school in particular, is there security in place? And what are the protocols in place for potential shootings like this one?
Right, Julie. So I can't get into too much detail as far as what actual policy and procedures or what training was provided to this particular school here in Uvalde, Texas. But what I can tell you...
You're listening to KFI. This is Lieutenant Chris Olivares of the Texas Department of Public Safety giving an update now this morning on the investigation into the 18-year-old who shot up a school, an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas. 19 kids were killed. 2 teachers were killed in this school massacre. And we're just getting more information now as things come out this morning. Handel, I know that they're going to get back into a little more of the investigation questions here in just a second, but I just want to go back over a couple of things that you didn't hear before I went to this. The lieutenant this morning did confirm that there was no gang affiliation and they had no history on this guy. So apparently he did not have a violent background.
Now, that never even came up in terms of thinking of a gang connection here.
I hadn't thought of that
never even
either.
entered my mind that there was some kind of a gang connection. I mean, are there gangs in this town of Uvalde? I don't even know.
I don't know.
And also, I want to point something out, and that is in terms of policy. I mean, I appreciate the lieutenant talking about the heroism of the Border Patrol and the officers that stormed the school. And I understand in the aftermath, but the policy now is that you storm the school. That is what they're supposed to do. It's completely changed from we wait to backup before going ahead and entering a school or a building to now you just have to storm it and you take your life in your hands. You don't know how many shooters are in there. You don't know where they are. You come into a school blind, and it's so much more dangerous. But unfortunately, fortunately, that's the cost of doing business. If you're going to be an officer, if you're going to be in the police of whatever agency, hey, this is what you have to do. It's like a cop on the street. Can you imagine a police officer confronting some bad guy and then pulling away and not doing his job? And then if he does his job, sustains an injury, all of a sudden there was something extraordinary about what he did. We expect that from police officers.
Absolutely. Now we do. I want to take you back to Lieutenant Olivares now. He was just asked the question, did the shooter either go to this elementary school or know anyone in this particular classroom, either teachers or students? He said they don't have that information right now, but that he did go to the local high school. They know that for sure.
Yeah, I was taking a note earlier today, too. You said there was forced entry into the room. I assume they busted down the door eventually.
Right.
Is that what happened?
Yes, right, Bill. And that was the specialized tactical team comprised of U.S. Border Patrol and also local law enforcement. They were able to gain forcible entry, and as they made forcible entry, that Border Patrol agent was met with gunfire, but they were able to successfully shoot and kill this suspect to prevent any further loss of life.
Yeah. Lieutenant, thank you so much for your time.
All right, that's been Lieutenant Chris Olivares from the Texas Department of Safety. And that Border Patrol agent, by the way, received a minor injury.
Yeah,
he'll be okay.
Keep in mind, and Wayne, you haven't said much, so I'm going to have you jump in here, and that is, I'm trying to envision this police officer, that first Border Patrol agent, literally, I guess, forcibly entering, somehow breaking the lock on the door, pushing it through, getting the door open, not knowing where the shooter is, certainly knew there was a shooter in that room, and just bursting through. And then you have a room full of kids. And there's an active shooting going on. I mean, you talk about I can just imagine the mayhem that went on in that room. And the Border Patrol agent obviously kept his head and was able to kill this 18-year-old kid, which, you know, wish it had been done sooner. But in terms of timeline, I think it happened as quickly as it possibly could have. There was no delay. Let's move on. Wayne?
Well, I wouldn't want to speculate on whether it was chaos after that officer went into that room or whether at that point it was over fairly quickly. He couldn't have known how many shooters were in that room. He couldn't have known what weapons were in that room. He couldn't have known how many kids. He would have known. Here's what he would have known. That there are guns in the room. There's at least one active shooter in the room. There are kids in the room. Beyond that, he doesn't know. He doesn't know, are all the kids still alive? Are they all dead? Where is the shooter or shooters relative to where the children are in the room? Unless he was intimately familiar with that classroom, he wouldn't have had any idea of even the layout of the classroom. However, although it is not a large part of officer training, there is training in these exact scenarios, going into an active shooting situation when you don't know the layout of the space, the location of the people involved, the number of shooters, etc. So he would not have been going in, let's say, if I tried to go in.
Right, but
you tried to go in. And the other thing is because we don't know what he saw.
Well, we'll find out, obviously.
It could have been over in less than 3 seconds.
Could happen.
If he walks in, he knows what he's looking for. If he sees the shooter and he has an open shot, the whole thing could have been over like that.
Official video.
We're not talking about part of a tactical team from the police department or the sheriff's department. We're talking about Border Patrol.
They do have extensive training in active shooters. Yes, because we think of, in this sense, we think of Border Patrol mostly as they're down there on the border and they're catching people who are trying to come across. One of the things